justification by faith. It's interesting because we're still at the beginning of the letter to the Romans, and Paul is already coming with the conclusion found in the memory verse for this lesson, and also verse 28 in chapter 3. He says, therefore, we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law.
Paul makes a statement which he's going to expand and develop later. But yes, after looking at our human condition and our struggles to find the right way to be good, Paul states that justification is by faith. This week's lesson focuses on the second part of chapter 3 of the book of letter to Romans. And the first point is how important it is to have understanding about the whole picture of the plan of salvation. Christianity is not about practices and rituals, but about being part in the greatest rescue plan in human history.
The Bible is explicitly clear that every person on this planet is a sinner. However, if I or you want to go and double check that, it will be enough for us to read the 10 Commandments. But this is all, and I underline all what the law does. Points out our sin, or as Paul says, through the law, we become conscious of our sin. Now, you see, being conscious of my sin can lead me to righteousness, to salvation, can lead me to the Savior. It's a powerful tool in God's hands. Am I going to follow God's lead? This is what's important next.
God's law is an interesting subject. It was provided by God to help us understand who He is, what He is about. The way people distort it is by focusing on the law more than on God. This can portray Him as a very demanding God who is hard to be pleased, and we're never good enough. This is why it's so important to keep the right perspective. We decided to separate from God, and in this way we lost anchor, we lost base, we degraded, and without this connection to the source of life, we are dying. Restoring this connection requires justice and restoration to a state that we can't achieve on our own.
In verse 21, Paul introduces the righteousness of God in contrast to the righteousness of the law. And for a Jew, God was so holy, so righteous. They didn't even pronounce His name. He was so unreachable that they have distanced themselves from Him. And they have found a way of righteousness in the law. Paul is bringing the good news, the gospel to them. He says, this righteousness of God has been made known to you in verse 21. It has been given to you through faith in Jesus Christ. Can you believe that? Can you accept that Christ's righteousness can be exchanged for our corrupt nature? And this is what it takes to be righteous.
It's interesting how at one point we understand this. It's Christ's righteousness, not ours. But then somehow we manage to find a way to make it about how we do it. We are doing it better than the others. The Jews thought that the Gentiles were missing something, and their way was the right way. Are we doing the same sometimes?
So it all comes to Christ's righteousness, what He did, what He demonstrated with His pure life. We have all sinned and fell short to the glory of God. Verse 23. We can't change this by some good works. We cannot somehow reverse the process by our own efforts, even though we have the knowledge of good through the law. Jesus lived a pure and righteous life, all for His benefit. Or was it? He made it possible that this righteousness that He has can be transferred from Him to us, thanks to His sacrifice on the cross. As Paul says, Christ was presented as a sacrifice of atonement for our benefit, for our cleansing, for my justification, for me becoming righteous as one who has never ever sinned. And again, my question is, do you believe it? Can you accept it?
The lesson takes the point to clarify that from Paul's statement in verse 24, we understand that justification requires righteousness. No one of us can cover this requirement but Jesus. He covered the requirement and He paid the price of our condemnation. This is how we are redeemed. This is how we are saved. It's all because of Jesus. This is why Paul says, therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith, without the deeds of the law.
The works of the law have their place in our life as Christians. Keeping the law and being obedient to God's instructions is everything, but a means for justification. Justification is by faith only. It's Paul's conclusion, not mine. The merits and the credits go to God only.